It was a quiet Saturday afternoon when the house seemed bigger than usual. My husband, Daniel, had left early in the morning for a work conference 2 towns over, and my son, Michael, had gone to visit his grandparents. I found myself alone for the first time in weeks. The stillness was comforting at first, but soon the silence felt almost too heavy. I turned on some soft music, brewed myself a cup of tea, and curled up on the couch with a book. Our neighborhood had always been the kind where people waved when driving by, kids rode bikes across each other's lawns, and neighbors borrowed cups of sugar, without hesitation. Over the years, I had watched families come and go, but one family had moved in just last summer, a mother, father, and their son, Jason. Jason was 21, polite, and always offered to help when he saw anyone outside. He had the kind of warm smile that reminded me of the way the world used to feel when you were young, full of promise and untouched by the heavier burdens of life. That afternoon, as I settled deeper into the couch, I heard a soft knock at the door. At first, I thought it might be a delivery, but when I opened it, there stood Jason holding a small cardboard box. His sandy blonde hair fell into his eyes as he smiled. "Hey, Mrs. Reynolds," he greeted. "Sorry to bother you. I think this package got delivered to our porch by mistake. It has your name on it." I smiled back, grateful for the company. "Oh, thank you, Jason. I didn't even realize something was coming today." He handed me the box, and I noticed how tall he had grown. The last time I really looked at him, he still seemed like a boy helping his dad rake leaves. Now, standing in the doorway, he carried himself like a young man finding his place in the world. "Are you busy today?" he asked, glancing past me into the quiet house. "Not at all," I said, realizing how true it was. "Everyone's gone. It's just me and the silence." He chuckled softly. "That doesn't sound too bad. But sometimes silence can get boring." I nodded, and without really planning it, I stepped aside. "Would you like to come in for some iced tea? It's hot out there." Jason hesitated only briefly before walking in, his presence filling the room with an unexpected energy. He sat on the edge of the couch while I went to the kitchen to grab drinks. When I returned, he was looking at the family photos that lined the mantel. "You have a beautiful family," he said, taking the glass from me. "Thank you," I replied, sitting across from him. "Michael's the one in all those soccer uniforms. He's 13 now, and thinks he's already grown." Jason laughed. "I remember being 13. I thought I knew everything." The conversation flowed naturally. He told me about his college classes, his plans to study architecture, and the part-time job he had at the bookstore downtown. I found myself listening intently, enjoying the enthusiasm in his voice. He reminded me of a time when dreams felt endless, when life was still about possibilities rather than responsibilities. As the afternoon sun filtered through the curtains, the atmosphere in the room shifted. Not in an uncomfortable way, but in a warm, heartening one. It wasn't about age or circumstance. It was about two people connecting over stories, laughter, and shared humanity. "You know," Jason said at one point, "when we first moved here, my mom said you were the kindest neighbor she'd ever met. She always notices how you take care of your garden." She said it made her feel like this neighborhood was really home. The words touched me more deeply than I expected. I had never thought my small gestures made such an impact. That's sweet of her to say. Sometimes I wonder if anyone notices those little things. "I noticed," Jason admitted, his eyes meeting mine. "You always take time for people. That's rare." There was a sincerity in his tone that made me pause. I felt a warmth spread through me, not romantic in a reckless sense, but romantic in the way of being seen, truly seen for the first time in a while. As the hours passed, we talked about everything from favorite books to fears of the future. He told me about losing his grandfather the year before and how it made him realize life was too short to take for granted. I told him about the early years of my marriage, the struggles Daniel and I faced, and the joy of raising Michael. Somewhere in between, the age gap between us seemed to dissolve. When evening began to fall, Jason stood up, stretching. "I should probably head home before my parents wonder where I am. But thanks for letting me stay a while. It was nice. Really nice." I smiled, feeling an unexpected sense of gratitude for his presence. Thank you for coming over, Jason. You reminded me what it's like to just sit and enjoy a moment without rushing. He nodded, his expression thoughtful. You reminded me that sometimes the best conversations aren't planned. They just happen. As he left, the house felt a little less empty than before. I sat back on the couch, reflecting on the afternoon. It hadn't been about anything grand or dramatic. It was about connection, kindness, and the reminder that even in the quietest moments, life had a way of surprising you with warmth. Over the next weeks, Jason would wave whenever he passed by, and sometimes he'd stop to ask how my day was going. His presence became a comforting thread in the fabric of my daily life. It wasn't a secret or a scandal. It was simply a friendship, one that reminded me that love and care could exist in many forms, across generations, and without labels. In the end, that day taught me something I had almost forgotten, that even when you feel alone, life has a way of sending someone to your door, reminding you that you are never truly unseen.